want to take this opportunity to thank you for your partnership. Together, you and I and the 145 or so congregations and worshiping communities of the South-Central Synod of Wisconsin care for, connect, and equip the congregations and the people here in this time and place to be the heart and the hands of Jesus. Together we proclaim the gospel in word and sacrament. Together we share God's love and light. Together we follow Jesus in announcing and living God's dream for this good creation. Our presiding bishop, Elizabeth Eaton, has been laying out 4 emphases for us in the ELCA. She says we are church, we are Lutheran, we are church together, we are church for the sake of the world. We're church. We're founded by Christ, called, gathered, and enlightened by God's Spirit. We're Lutheran. As Lutherans, there's a particular way in which we understand God's work in the world. We see it through the lens of God's grace. Always, always, God's love and forgiveness comes to us totally unmerited, just because that's how God is, in spite of how we may be. And we're church together. We're members and participants, congregations, synods, the larger church, brothers and sisters in Christ around the world. We're not alone. And we are church for the sake of the world. The church doesn't exist for our own sake. The church is not a private club with member benefits. The church exists for the sake of the world. So what does it mean to be the church, particularly the Lutheran Church, here in this place and time, together for the sake of the world? This is Brooklyn Lutheran Church in Brooklyn, Wisconsin. Brooklyn is not what you would call a big church. Pastor Rebecca Ninke has served with the folks here on a half-time basis for 10 years. They worship about 50 folks on a Sunday morning. Not large, but faithful and pretty happy. So I brought you here because of something I read in the annual meeting report of this congregation. Here's what Pastor Rebecca wrote. We are a church of just the basics, and I think there is a gift in that. We tend not to get distracted by committees and calendars. We focus on our worship, teaching our kids, caring for one another, and caring for the world. I was struck by that line about just the basics. What are the basics for us as the church, particularly the Lutheran Church here in this place and time together for the sake of the world? For the 13 years before I was elected bishop, I served as pastor of Luther Valley, a rural open country parish just outside of Beloit. Gary Alseth was the music director there and a good friend. And he once said, you know, you can tell when Pastor Mary is mad at us because she reads to us out of the Book of Concord. So, at the risk of causing you to think I'm mad at you, allow me to share a passage from the Book of Concord. Article 7 of the Augsburg Confession talks about what the church at its most basic level is. Article 7 says the church is the assembly of believers among whom the gospel is preached in its purity and the sacraments are administered according to the gospel. Article 7 goes on to say that human traditions like rites and ceremonies, worship practice, styles, don't need to be all alike. They are not what make the church the church. As I travel around this synod, worshiping in different congregations, I see a wide variety of styles and ceremonies and practices. A wide variety, a huge variety. We are not all alike, not by a long shot, but that doesn't matter. What does matter is that in every congregation I visit, I always receive the love and grace of God, through the proclamation of God's good news, and in water, bread, and wine shared among the gathered community of faith. It's through this gospel and by these sacraments that we are fed and empowered to be the heart and the hands of Jesus to one another and in our communities, receiving and sharing God's love, God's forgiveness, and God's new life. The basics. Focus on the basics. Whether you are a congregation that gathers 12 or 1,200, whether your worship is accompanied by a praise band or an organ, whether you collect food for your local food pantry or collect thousands of dollars for ELCA World Hunger, whether you have 8 kids in Sunday school or 200 on a Wednesday for Family Faith Night, whether you are located in the open country or in downtown Madison, we are Christ's church, with a particularly Lutheran take on things, held together in one body for the sake of God's beloved world. I'm grateful for our partnership in this good gospel work.